Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the African Esquire Show on WCC TV. I am your host, Tierney Cherie. Before we get started with today's subject, just a few quick reminders. Please do obviously like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But also very important that you also keep in mind that these are platforms that are controlled by the same entities that we criticize constantly on this channel, which is why I also tell you all, please do subscribe to my Telegram channel. Telegram is an app that you should probably just have anyways if you're trying to send encrypted messages and things like that. But you can have this app, and if you actually click the link down below to my Telegram channel, you will be able to get notifications anytime I post a video or any links that I want to share. So that is a very good way to stay connected, despite the fact that we know that we're being monitored with everything that we say. In addition, just to remind you all, please do go to rechargecolonialism.org. That is our website. There you can read articles that are written. There was actually two written last week, one by our brother Jamal, who talks about this subject that we're going to talk about, the fact that so many people have been distracted by Hollywood yet again. So many have fallen victim to the sensationalization of actors and celebrities and things like that. Also another one by our brother Ikemba. He explains why globalization is imperialism. So that's another important article that you can read. In addition, while you're on our website, you can donate if you would like to. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter to also get updates. That's another decentralized way that you can stay connected. And also the colonialism, the Africa Unity Movement for Decolonization, a number of different Pan-Africanist, African-led organizations coming together to push the issue of decolonization as a goal, as a necessity. That will be in July 21st to the 23rd. And you can register on our website. It's only $35, and there's always promo codes going around. So pay attention to us or our channel. Miss Hattie will share a lot of promo codes if you watch the podcast and book club, so you can get a little bit off of that. But $35, $25 if you're in the global South, not too much. We want to keep it cheap because we want our people, many as people as possible, to be able to attend. So with those things out of the way, let's talk about what I want to talk about today. This video is something that I was not expecting to talk about. As you all know, I don't talk too much about celebrities on this channel unless I feel like there's something that's like really poignant that you can look at and analyze and apply to not individuals, but the masses of African people. And in this case, I want to talk about Will Smith, but talk to people who I would say are Will Smiths in their own regard. What I mean by that is that a lot of us, we come up inside of this system. This is a global system, so no one is left out, right? We come up in this system believing a certain set of values. The values are: you work hard, if you're good, you're positive, you follow the rules, you don't engage in crimes, you don't do any drugs, you just do everything right. That you can rise to a level of success in this system where you can basically be on equal footing with anyone, including the white man who owns the system, right? This is something that we've been taught everywhere. It's something that you hear, even whenever you hear people say, you can be whatever you want to be, right? I always cringe whenever I hear people tell African children that, because we should keep in mind that you can want to be of Jeff Bezos inside of this system, but you will never be able to have that same leverage as Jeff Bezos, as a white capitalist male in that regard, as an African person, even if you're willing to do all the scummy things that he does. So I always cringe when I hear people say that, because we're not actually being truthful. But these are the values that the system teaches us. And the reason the system teaches us these values of exceptionalism, of success, and how you can be on the top is because they need us to believe in these set of ideals. The more that we believe in these ideals, the less likely that we are to challenge the system. If we believe the system is even-coded and even-handed, then you're not going to spend so much time trying to disrupt the system. Instead, you'll spend your time trying to climb the corporate ladder or trying to climb the ladder of success. So that's why they need you to believe in it. They need you to believe. If you get your degree, if you get all the internships and experiences, if you have the connections, if you go to these networking events and conferences, if you talk to the right people and read the right books, if you're positive and you do all these great things like meditate, that's a big thing right now. If you do all these things, then you can be on the top, just like you can be Bill Gates, you can be Jeff Bezos, you can be Elon Musk, you can be any of these people. All you need is the right set of values. Complete baloney, obviously, if you've lived any part of of existence as an African person in this world, but still these are the values that we're taught. Now, Will Smith is a good example of this because he really has been someone who, on paper, would seem to exemplify those values. So if you think about it, Will Smith's about, I think he's 52 now. He's been in the industry probably over 30 years, right? Never heard of him getting in a fight, never heard of him using drugs, never heard of any DUIs. And you hear of a lot of Hollywood people getting these DUIs and crashes and all these things. Nothing like that. I don't remember hearing, I literally don't remember anything of any like shocking behavior coming from him, except for you could say his personal life. But if you're talking about things that actually like you can get arrested for, I've never can recall hearing him mention. Never heard of him hurting a woman, never heard of him molesting anyone, like just clean. And on top of being clean as far as these standards that were given, he's also clean as far as how he moves, right? Because again, I told you the system needs you to believe in these set of ideals. And Will Smith has been someone who has been very much a preacher of these ideals. He's told everyone, like, this is how you can be successful. Like, there's certain people, like, you'll look online and you will see quotes with their face on it. And, like, people will use this and share it on social media so many times because it's inspirational, right? For people who want to be on that level. And he's someone that teaches these types of principles, teaches you how to climb the ladder, teaches about positivity, talks about like energy and like all these things. Like, so he's like the perfect the perfect Hollywood Negro, if you would say it. If there was one, right? He was clean, spotless. I mean, safe. You would not think that something would pop off of Will Smith. He's not Chris Brown, right? So he has reached a certain level. But how quickly, whenever you are this person, can you completely be wiped out? And everything good that you've done, all the money you might have given to people, or all the good, humane acts you might have done, could be wiped out by one single action. Now, of course, this is not the reality for everyone. This is going to be the reality, particularly if you are a person who's not supposed to be inside of this system as a free person, anyways. This is why we have to remember that we're all a part of systems. This is not just a Hollywood thing. This is about everyone. I'm a lawyer, right? So I'm a part of the legal system. I understand there are courts that are part of the system. There are laws that were written like way before I can even imagine. There's things, precedents that have been handed down. There's not just local courts. There are higher courts, appeals courts. There are institutions that work to persuade the senators and congresspersons about which laws should be put in place to try to change the laws. So all these systems, political systems, court systems, legal systems, are all operating. And here I am placed inside of the system. You too are inside of a system. Whatever job you have, whatever occupation you have, if you have a restaurant, you understand that you are a part of this economic system where this whole thing was created long before you even had something to say about it. If you are a personal trainer, that's also a part of this business economic system. So we're all part of different systems. And for Will Smith, he's a part of the system of Hollywood, a system like all the systems that I've mentioned that was not created with us in mind. Certainly not created with us being free and autonomous, certainly not created with us being powerful inside of the system. The system was created, like all these systems, really for the sole purpose of upholding the power structure in this country and around the world. So because the system was not created for you, whatever system you're a part of, because the system was not created for you, because you were not a part of it whenever people came up with the concepts, you are only there on a conditional lease. And that's the difference between you and others. Any person who is not a white person inside of the system, you're there under a conditional lease, meaning you do the wrong thing And literally, you will have everything snatched away from you very quickly. And the only way that you can get those things back is by essentially begging and pleading and doing what we tell you to do until we say, okay, well, we made an example of you enough, so we're going to give you some of this back. If you look at what's happening with Will Smith, like I said, over 30 years, clean, clean, safe. Someone who is like Barney the dinosaur for some people. You see kids run up and like, oh my gosh, Will Smith. Like he's just someone that you would not think of, and you can't think of a lot of things negative about, right? After over 30 years of playing by their rules, rising to great levels inside of their system, according to them, winning an Academy Award, which is the highest honor inside of their system. After over 30 years of doing everything right, he now is in a position where essentially everyone is trying to act like that 30 years didn't exist. Instead, he is one moment, the moment where he slapped Chris Rock. Did you see how the talk really changed about him? Not just negatively, but racialized talk. So, and first of all, I understand there are some Black and white actors who have been saying these things. There's a lot of Black people in Hollywood who understand that they have to become like-minded with the system. They have to adopt the ideals of the system. They have to talk like the people talk. So you'll hear Black people saying these things as well as white people. But mostly what I heard from a lot of white people is that this guy, this is violent behavior. I'm traumatized from a smack, right? People said they were traumatized from a smack. And the craziness about that is when you hear people who are rich who never have to deal with the realities of what their riches mean to most people are traumatized by something so small. I mean, I think there was just another school shooting. I mean, those children, I'm sure, are traumatized. You're traumatized from a smack. Imagine being traumatized from seeing your friend's head blown off right next to you. Imagine being traumatized from being a mother who can't feed their child and their child dies in their arms, or seeing people drown right in front of you trying to cross the Mediterranean. Yet these people are traumatized because something happened in their small little world and threatened their sense of comfort. And really, what I think it was is there's a lot of things inside of America that are old historical stereotypes that will always come back anytime that you step outside of the mold of whiteness that has been laid out for you as an African person. So for Will Smith, you can be inside of our system, but you better not hit anyone. You better not be violent or threatening, because if there's one thing you cannot be as a Black man inside of America, is threatening. What happened to any Black man who was seen as threatening historically? You were lynched in grotesque ways, obviously. I mean, the stuff that we know that they used to do, castrating men, I mean, dragging bodies, horrible things, all to really set fear inside of all of us, to make us think that if you ever do this or ever think about doing this, if you ever look like you might want to do this, you will also face the same fate. Because their ultimate fear, obviously, is these people who have been disenfranchised, who have nothing as far as their own power structure. These same people will flip and actually be the threat to us that they should be, because any people who have had what happened to us over time, most people would flip the other direction and want to combat the system instead of trying to integrate into the system. So there's always a fear of a dangerous Black man or a dangerous Black woman too. And for Will Smith to do that, he gets stereotyped as violent. He's looked at as criminal. People are throwing that around, saying, oh, he's a criminal now. This is assault, right? I've heard this is toxic masculinity, which is one of those things I hate when I hear these feminists say these things. And it's like, what are you trying to really say? Because, they put these words together to try to elicit a certain fear of really, I think, also Black sexuality. If you understand the history of the white woman accusing the Black man of rape, and that would oftentimes be cause for that Black man to be either incarcerated or lynched. or dealt with in other horrible ways. So they'll throw around these terms that don't say what they're trying to really get at, but really what it's saying is that you are exuding a certain beta maleness that is a threat to me as a white woman, is a threat to my security. You stepped outside of the line that you're never supposed to step outside of. Therefore, you have to be put back inside of there. The other thing I don't know if you've noticed is that Chris Rock is being praised for something that I think most of us have different feelings about. And this is, again, not saying, what should you do? But most of us have an understanding that if someone hits you, you have a right to hit them back. I mean, this is something that obviously we've learned, and we realize that self-defense is your right as any person. But he's being praised for not hitting Will Smith back, which is kind of crazy. So now the white power structure is making him violent. He's traumatizing and all these things for Will Smith. But the man who actually didn't defend himself when he was hit is being praised for docileness. You see the messaging that's happening, the secret messaging, like, okay, black men, this is how you're supposed to react whenever someone hits you. You're supposed to be docile. You're not supposed to retaliate. You're supposed to keep the show going. You're supposed to keep us laughing. You're supposed to keep us entertained. So these messages are being sent to us at the same time, literally at the same time. And many of us are missing it, I think, because we're so into the emotion of this. We shouldn't be invested emotionally inside of what's happening. Honestly, you shouldn't. This is not you. You have your own family, you have your own issues, you have your own community that you have to be thinking about. But the issue is that the media is going to constantly push these messages because they want to, again, set that fear inside of us. This is all that the media does, is try to instill fear inside of us. Therefore, you, even if you're not in Hollywood, if you're in the corporate world, if you're inside of the business world, wherever you are, you have an understanding that docile, non-threatening, celebrated, makes us laugh, gives us a good time, entertains us, celebrated. Threatening, violent, that's bad. Don't do that. Stands up wherever you're told not to stand up. Go somewhere where you're not told to go. That's against us. This is the secret messaging that's happening constantly from these purveyors of white supremacy, really. So, to the Will Smiths of this world, we are all part of these systems. You should understand that your goal in this system, if your goal is to rise to the top of the system, understand that you basically are signing up to be a underdog inside of a system that was never created for you. The system's never going to magically make something that's going to be for you. It's always going to be for the white audience, your white co-stars or co-workers or whatever. This is the people who actually or the system is for. So if you're doing all these things with the idea that you're going to be treated any differently, that one moment that you might snap, and I heard someone say, every black person in America, you're always like one moment from snapping. Everyone watching this video, I'm very sure you had one moment where you snapped. It probably wasn't in front of millions of people, but everyone has had one moment where we just was not in control. And understand that one moment that you step outside of bounds will be something that will be used against you ongoingly. I want to remind everyone in closing about Christopher Dorner. He was a police officer and he played by the rules. So again, we're talking about systems. He was in the system of law enforcement. A very probably one of the most stark examples of understanding just how these systems are literally created intentionally to put us inside of a position where we're never going to be the people who are actually served, but will always be the people who are sacrificed anytime that something goes wrong. So Christopher Dorner, of course, he was a cop. He somewhere in California. Some of you might remember Dave Chappelle referenced him in one of his comedy specials. But I remember when it happened because he had done everything right. He'd done everything right. He played by the book. He played by the book as far as like what you're supposed to do as a cop, what you're supposed to do as far as what type of academy you go to, how long you're on the force, his performance record. He had a beautiful career. And what happened is that he put a complaint in against one of his colleagues. That's a no-no if you're inside of that law enforcement system. You do not complain against a fellow officer. And so he stepped outside of the bounds of what he's allowed to do. Because of that, that one moment becomes him. And he's no longer this well-decorated officer. He's no longer this well-respected person that's inside of law enforcement. No, he's basically the N-word now. This is what they create for us. This is what they have to offer us. These second-class citizenship roles inside of a system that's not created for us. And I say accept that this is what the system is. Do not pretend that the system is anything other than what it is. Do not be comfortable inside of the system. Ultimately, the mindset should be that this system is not for you, and any type of interactions you have in the system is for the sheer purpose and focus of liberating yourselves from the system, of creating alternative systems, systems that are for your people, systems that do meet your needs, systems that are for your community. That's what the focus has to always be. Of course, we're still dictated by this capitalist exploitative system. That doesn't mean, though, that we get lost and think that this is the means to our end. It's not the means to your end. This should, if anything, be a means to an end of where, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do so far as I need to survive. But everything outside of that, my focus, my mind, my energy is really into not into the system, but into being inside of a system that's going to be for the good of people, not for my despair. That's what we have to do as African people. That's what we have to remember. And let this be an example to you. Doesn't matter how long you've been playing it straight. Don't get lost in the system. Don't think that the system is yours. Don't think that the system is going to appreciate all the good you've done. The second that they find you disposable, they'll do just that. And they're doing that to Will Smith right now. So that's really all I have. Thank you all for watching, and definitely share your comments. We don't want to get into the hurrah of, sensationalization and press, but it's a really good question to ask the question whether or not we as African people can be inside of these systems as autonomous beings and have any type of expectation that it will do what's right when things go wrong. Most of us, I think, understand at this particular point, at least those who watch this channel, that this is not for us, that it's not for our betterment as a people. Therefore, we're focused more so on African-led systems, African-centered systems, things that are for community and not things that are for us being attached to a very much exploitative and enslaving system. So with that, I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.
I think what we are suffering from is ideological confusion. That is, that we're not clear, we're not thinking clearly, and that we need a context within which to answer the question, is something good or bad? We assume that we have the same goals, but we never say what they are. It's time for us to think and articulate and establish our goals as Black nationalists and Pan-Africanists. We need vision, we need clarity. Otherwise, we can't answer the question, is it good for African people? Nationalist goal is self-determination. In the spirit of Delaney, Garvey, Malcolm, Amos. It is Pan-African commitment, that is the unity of African people worldwide and one Africa on the continent as a basis for African strength. So we are about building a Pan-African world order based on the principles of Ma'at, not in imitation of a European order. Ma'at as justice and truth. We need a nation concept, as Dr. Clark told us. A Black economic program, a cultural program, an independent political organization, independent Black media, independent African-centered education financed by us and controlled by us. All of this presupposes, very importantly, an African Black identity.